Welcome to another edition of FH&P Lawyers Law Talk, and I am Clay Williams. I'm a partner here at FH&P Lawyers, and we've got an interesting topic for you today. With me is Mr. Kevin Cheung. Hello, Kevin.
Hi, Clay.
Welcome.
Thanks.
And so what we're going to talk about today is U.S.-Canada immigration. So as I understand it, you got an interesting background. You actually went to law school in the United States.
That's correct, and then I was called to the bar in New York, and
Called to the bar in New York, and kept that up.
kept that up, and it's opened the door to this type of work, U.S. immigration work, and it's a type of work that's becoming increasingly important, particularly with the climate down in the U.S. We get a lot of calls about what to do if you want to go work or play in the U.S., or are there any issues with entering the U.S., or we get calls from people from the U.S. who want to move to Canada and find out what that process is like.
And so you're kind of uniquely positioned, I guess, because you are called to the bar in New York and you're also called to the bar here in British Columbia.
That's correct, yes.
And so you can kind of play both sides of that.
Yeah, I'm able to help them on both sides of the issue.
No, that's pretty cool. And we've got some, and pretty unique, I think, as well. I mean, there's not a lot of people that have those two qualifications.
Right.
Okay, so now we've got, you give me some notes, and so you want to talk about a couple things today. So to our listeners, we're going to start with U.S. entry waivers. And I understand you're getting a lot of calls about U.S. entry waivers.
Yes.
What are they? Why do people need a U.S. entry waiver?
So a U.S. entry waiver is required if you've got some problem that makes you inadmissible into the United States. Most commonly, it's a criminal record history.
Okay.
And so if you've got a criminal record or a criminal record history, you would need to prepare an entry waiver in order to go down into the U.S. Whether it's for work or play, you're going to need that entry waiver.
Does everybody need that? And I guess it's important. If you're planning a family trip and you're not sure if you're going to get in or not, that's a lot of money at stake, isn't it? For sure.
But anybody who has a criminal record, they should at least get a legal opinion as to whether or not a waiver is required. Certain crimes don't rise to the level of requiring a waiver, but always best to check in with a lawyer.
So what are some of the crimes that aren't considered serious enough to need a waiver?
Well, there's some petty crimes that don't rise to the level of requiring a waiver, but if you've got a crime of possession of a prohibited substance or crimes involving assault, or they call it crimes of moral turpitude.
Would fraud would that
Yes.
rise to that?
Oh yes.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a long list of crimes, and that dictates whether you need an entry waiver or not.
So if I was to book like a family trip, and I want to go to Hawaii, where would you be turned back? Would it be in Hawaii, or would they turn you back here?
At the border.
Okay.
So in Hawaii, it would be at the Hawaii border at Hawaii.
At your entry point. So what a bother. You're there and they say, no, you can't come in.
Yeah, you pay for your flight, get all the way down there, and you're turned around. Yeah. So it could be pretty costly.
So what do you have to do to when somebody comes to you and they say, well, I want to go to the United States for whatever reason, and you say, yeah, you're going to need a waiver. What is the process? What do you have to do?
Well, you're going to need your court file from the criminal case. You're going to need a number of letters of support from people who know you and who can attest to your rehabilitation. And you're going to need a letter from yourself talking about your remorse. And you're also going to need a package, some forms that are filled out. It's a pretty comprehensive package that's required, and one of the pitfalls for people is that they submit a package that's pretty thin, or that's missing some of the documents that are required, and that usually results in them being turned back.
Do you have an idea of how long it takes? So if they come to you, I guess you've got to get all this information, collect all the information. But from the time that you actually submit the package, how long does that take?
I think it's about 6 months right now.
Oh my goodness, 6 months.
It really varies.
Okay.
So it takes a lot of pre-planning because putting together the package can take several months, especially if you're starting from zero.
You got to get your criminal record, I guess, and find somebody to attest that you're a good person now.
You got to get a police check and all of that stuff. All of that stuff takes time, especially the letters from people you know. It's important that those letters are prepared properly, and that takes time.
Okay, and so that's a long time. And so is a waiver good for life, or is it only good for a certain period of time?
No, it only lasts for a few years. So I think it's 5 years, but so it does need to be renewed at certain points in time.
Now, do you have a feel then for whether it's going to be accepted or not? Like I wonder if somebody's done something really bad, then, but it's been a long time, for instance. I mean, do you have a feel for whether they're going to be successful?
I think the more horrific the crime, the more likelihood that you're going to get turned away. Yeah. But that's also why it's important to speak to a lawyer, have a lawyer assist you in preparing the package so you've got the best shot possible in convincing them to let you in.
Who is it that makes the decision now?
Border.
Oh, so the border.
Yeah.
So do you submit this to the border? I don't know, what are they? The border guard or?
Yeah, you'll get your entry waiver beforehand, but it's entirely discretionary whether it's accepted or not. Which again is why it's important to put together as strong of a package as possible when you're making these applications.
So you get your waiver.
Yeah.
You show up. You're taking your family down for a trip to Disneyland or something like that. Yeah. Do they still have discretion to say no?
Once you have your waiver, no. Then you're free to go.
Okay.
Come and go.
Wow, geez. Now I've got a couple of questions for you. A couple of things that have made me think about this is one of them is driving under the influence, and I think that's an interesting one because up here almost nobody gets charged anymore. It's all done as an administrative penalty. Yeah. So how does that work? How do the Americans view that? I guess how would they even know if there's not a criminal record?
If there's no criminal record, then it probably doesn't rise to the level of requiring an entry waiver.
Yep.
But another example is marijuana. It's obviously legal now in Canada, but previously it wasn't, and you had all sorts of people getting charged with possession, and that was a criminal charge. They've got a criminal record. A lot of people do get caught up when they're entering crossing the border. They've got this historical conviction
from 1975 or something like that.
Yeah. And even though it's legal now, it doesn't matter. You've got that criminal record, and you're going to need an entry waiver for that. Along the same lines, a lot of these people who had previous marijuana convictions, they get a pardon, or for any crime.
That was my next question.
Yeah. You get a pardon, you think you're okay, but at the border, they don't recognize Canadian pardons.
So a pardon doesn't wipe it clean?
Doesn't matter for entering the U.S.
Oh, so you come to the border and you declare it, and they've got the ability to find out whether you've been convicted. What about if you've been charged? You're innocent until proven guilty. Do you still need a waiver?
Probably not. It's really on if you've got a conviction record.
Okay, geez. And so do you have an obligation to disclose if you've been charged with something?
Not unless there's been a conviction.
Okay, so to all the criminals out there, you know who to. I'm joking. I know you're all rehabilitated, and it's time to get down to the States. You're the guy to call. Yeah,
and like along those lines, a lot of people they do some dumb things when they're younger.
Oh, that's another question. Yeah. What about stuff if you're charged as a minor? Does that matter?
As long as there's a criminal conviction that on your file.
Even under 18?
I believe so, yes.
Oh, my goodness.
And really, it's better to be upfront and disclose all criminal convictions. when you're making these applications or when you're crossing the border, because you don't want anything coming up that results in them turning you away. And if you've been denied entry once, it could make it more complicated for you to enter in the future.
Okay, that's a good point, because I'm sure that does happen to people.
Sure,
they think, oh, I've got a conviction for possession of marijuana from 1975. Who cares?
Yeah.
But if you are turned away,
Right.
then that makes your job harder?
Yes.
Ah, okay. So then it might be more difficult to get in next time.
Yes.
Aha, okay, so see you, I
Yes.
guess, eh? So the second big area of inquiry here is crossing the border from Canada to work,
Yes.
which is something I didn't even know you could do. You know, we read so much about how the Americans are really cracking down on people coming into the country to work.
Yeah, illegal immigrants, I guess, or illegal workers, is what they would say.
So what is the type of situation that you're talking about here?
So it's where you're somebody with a certain professional or certain skills that are useful in the U.S. And you've got somebody or an employer in the U.S. who's interested in bringing you down there to work. Those are the types of people that would require some paperwork to allow them to work in the U.S.
Okay, so tell us about the paperwork and how does it work?
Nurses are a pretty common one,
Yeah.
or people in the tech sector, pretty common as well. But we work with the employer to make sure that their offer letter is sufficiently specific about what they're hiring the individual to do. And then again,
So I take it it's not just anybody. Then it's a certain list of people.
certain list of professions is really what they're looking at,
Okay.
and depending on your background, it's going to that'll change the type of process that you're applying through, and also depending on your intentions, that also might change the process as well. So, for example, if you're going down to the States to work, but your intention is that I eventually want to become a U.S. citizen, get a green card, and live there permanently, that's going to move you over to a different pathway, an entry pathway. Whereas if you're just intending on working there for a few years maybe, then that's going to shift you over to a different pathway. But it's pretty important to have those discussions and be pretty clear about what your intentions are at the time you apply.
Okay, so I didn't even know that. So a green card is a green card isn't just a work visa. A green card is a passage or the start
It's citizenship.
Towards getting your citizenship. Okay,
Right.
very different than from what you're talking about, which is just the visa.
Yeah, and it's important to be upfront about your intentions, because if you go down there and you're intending on becoming a U.S. citizen eventually, but you don't disclose that when you're making your applications, that could be problematic for you when it comes time to either renewing your status, whatever that status is.
Although, how do you know? I like it down here. I want to stay.
Yeah, and certainly people's intentions change over time, and if that's the case, then they need to move over to different pathways in order to gain citizenship in the U.S.
Okay, so tell us about the process if you are one of these, engaged in one of these applications that's on the list that they say, yes, you can come and work down here. What do you have to do?
Well, you get your employer to prepare a package for you, an offer letter, and you prepare your entry package. So there's a stack of paperwork that you need to prepare, and it needs to be pretty comprehensive. But this is a package that you would take to the border, and at the border they'll make a decision as to whether or not you've got all of your documents in order.
See, this is something I didn't realize. Yeah. I would have thought this would be something you would have to go to the consulate or something like that, but they do it all right at the border.
Well, as Canadians, we're pretty fortunate. We've got that benefit of just being able to do this at the border.
Okay. Can you do it elsewhere, or does it have to be at the border?
It's only ever done at the border. I guess it depends on what type of status you're applying for. So there are certain entry pathways that require you to go to a consulate or a specific port of entry.
Yeah, I guess it would be a bother as well if I'm trying to get down to a job that's supposed to start and I'm denied entry because my paperwork isn't all together, I guess.
Yeah, so it's important to make sure it's in order.
And so you're getting a lot of calls about that as well.
Yeah.
That's interesting because I wasn't aware that there were as many Canadians that still wanted to work in the States.
Oh, for sure. There's a lot of opportunity in the States. There's obviously a significant population down there, but there's also a significant amount of work to be had down there, and so a lot of people do look at moving down there to work, to start a business. Or to move down there permanently.
Okay, so if I go down there and I've got a job, say in the tech sector, do you know how long that work visa lasts and what happens when it expires?
I believe it's 3 years. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then do I have to go back to the border, or how would I extend that work?
You have to extend it.
So you go through the whole process again. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Any tips or tricks for people that are looking to go down and work in the United States?
Well, one of the misconceptions these days, or common misunderstandings these days, is for workers living in or employees living in Canada working remotely for a U.S. company. Mm. And what are the immigration considerations with respect to that? So if you're working remotely in Canada, in Kelowna, or in the Okanagan in BC, there really shouldn't be any U.S. immigration layers that you would need to worry about. But the problem comes when you've got a meeting down in the U.S. The employer invites you to a function down there, or you're meeting a client down there, you're doing some marketing down there. The second you enter the U.S. for work purposes, you need to make sure that you have the proper status. And a lot of remote workers get caught up in that, not realizing that they need to have the appropriate status. A lot of people go to the border, they're down there and they say, well, I'm just here to do a little bit of work. A little bit of work is a trigger for the border patrol to ask, okay, where's your paperwork? Where's the proper documentation? And if you don't have it, you're going to be denied entry.
I wonder how it would work for people that, we know a bunch of people that have condos, in Hawaii and go and kind of work remotely for a few months a year. They're probably not supposed to do that, I take it.
Well, if you're working for your Canadian company, I think that would be okay. But if you are employed by a U.S. employer and you're doing work for this U.S. employer in the U.S., you need to make sure you've got the proper status.
Okay, so what I've taken from this is that, I think it's really important that if you do have a criminal record and want to go down to the United States, if you do want to work down there, there's you better have your ducks in order. And I understand that, and so the people have to see somebody like you. And I understand that for the next little while, you've got some kind of a program in place to get people in the door and answer some questions.
Yes, absolutely. So for the next 2 months till mid-September 2026, I'm offering a free 15-minute consultation because I think it is valuable to at least get some preliminary insight into what the process is and what your steps should be. If you are going to travel to the U.S. with a criminal record, if you're planning on working in the U.S., if you're planning on opening a business in the U.S., anything like that, anything U.S. immigration related, I'm offering a free 15-minute consult.
Well, it seems like a good deal because now you can talk to a lawyer and you can find out even if you need a lawyer. And if you do, you'll talk to them about the costs and that as well.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you, Kevin, for that. And so to our viewers, if you've got any questions, then you know who to call about working in the U.S. or trying to get into the U.S. With a criminal conviction. To our viewers, till next time.